slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go.
Brian Giles from Brian Giles MTG. And I'm here for Brothers War spoilers. So I got up a little late today. I was up real early this morning, went to bed, woke up late. I didn't figure we'd have as many spoilers drop as we did, but we got a ton to go through, so we're going to jump right in to more hyped Brothers War spoilers. Here we go. Starting off with Combat Thresher, a beefy 7 colorless mana for a 3/3 artifact creature construct with double strike. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. Sounds pretty, unuseful, except for the fact that it has a prototype. For 1 white and 2, you get a 1/1 version of it. So a 1/1 double strike, and when it enters the battlefield, you draw a card. More card draw love for white. I think people are going to start liking that. Next up is another card that you might let me explain the card first, and then we'll get into it. In Teresian Mindbreaker, 7 colorless mana for a 6/4 artifact creature Juggernaut. Whenever Teresian Mindbreaker attacks, defending player mills half their library rounded up. Yikes! I said Mill was back? No, Mill is here! Mother freaky! It also has Unearth for 3 blue and 1 colorless. So you can bring this thing back from the graveyard. So maybe it's best that you put this in the graveyard and bring it back to have your mill half their library. Yikes, yikes, yikes. I mean, combine this with something like Lord Xander. Mill is back, baby. Next up, we have another reprint. It's a regular card, but it's a reprint for the set in Disfigure. So it's an instant for 1 black mana. Target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn. A nice removal type spell for 1 black mana. Next up, we have another beefy artifact in Heavyweight Demolisher. For 7 colorless mana, you get an 8/6 artifact creature construct with menace. At the beginning of your upkeep, tap Heavyweight Demolisher unless you pay 3 colorless. But it has an Unearth for 2 red and 6. So 8 to unearth it, but you get an 8/6 menace with haste coming out of your graveyard. Next up, we have Arbalest Engineers. What one way? Excuse me. 1 red and 1 green and 1 colorless for a 2/2 human artificer. When Arbalest Engineers enters the battlefield, choose 1. Arbalest Engineers deals 1 damage to any target, or put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. It gains trample and haste till end of turn, or create a tapped Power Stone token. So some ramp, some damage, or some straight up beef in a +1/+1 counter. Now, you could actually put that on the Arbalest Engineer and have it be a 3/3 trample and haste until end of turn. That really puts some value there. Next up, we have Yoshin Frontliner, kind of a callback to the old school Antiquities card Yoshin Soldier. Yoshin Frontliner is 1 colorless mana for a 1/1 artifact creature soldier that has, whenever it attacks, another target creature you control gets +1/+1 until end of turn, and you can unearth it for a single white. Not a bad card at all. Next up, I don't know if this is a reprint. It sounds very familiar because I'm a dragon lover and I follow dragons. I might even have it in my Dragon Commander deck. But it's Tyrant of Care Ridges. 2 red and 4 for a 4/5 dragon with flying. When Tyrant of Care Ridges enters the battlefield, it deals 4 damage to any target, and it has fire breathing. So 1 red mana, Tyrant of Care Ridges gets +1/+0 till end of turn. So, so not bad. Love the flavor text. In war, dragons don't see sides, just side dishes. Next up is another reprint that we have not seen in a long time in Demolition Field. So, it's a land, tap it to add a colorless, or pay 2, sacrifice Demolition Field, destroy target's non-basic land an opponent controls. That land's controller may search their library for a basic land card and put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. You may search your library for a basic land card and put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. So it's kind of like a Field of Ruin. So, very, very cool. Next up, we have a super, super powerful enchantment in Painful Quandary. 2 black, 3 colors for an enchantment that reads, whenever an opponent casts a spell, that player loses 5 life unless they discard a card. Oh my bleeping, bleeping, bleep! Black Lockdown. Oh, this card is sick. It's a rare only. It's not a mythic. But this will be a sought after card. Watch out for that. That's an insanity card. That gets 2 hands to the head. Next up is another card that calls back. This is a card that's. Let me put out the card first, and we'll see what you think of what I say. This is Lay Down Arms, a single white mana for a sorcery that reads: exile target creature with mana value less than or equal to the number of planes you control. Its controller gains 3 life. This is it's sorcery speed. It's not instant like Swords to Plowshares, but this is a more powerful version of Swords to Plowshares, because in the late game you can exile something for a something really big if you're playing with a lot of planes. So this card is super dope. It's uncommon. Yeah, it's sorcery, and yeah, your opponent gains 3 life. But you can, especially in the late game when they're playing big creatures, you can remove the big threats for cheap cost. I'm not unhappy with this card. I like it a lot. So it gets a thumbs up from me. Next up, we have Flow of Knowledge. Draw for it's 1 blue and 4 for an instant that reads, draw a card for each island you control, then discard 2 cards. Now you know that we've already seen some card draw in this set. This is very interesting, but I'm sensing a theme here because the last card cared about how many planes you control. This cares about how many islands you control. And there's no such thing as coincidence, as Leroy Jethro Gibbs would say. Next up, we have Corrupt. I don't know if this is I don't think it's a reprint, but this is a dope, powerful card. In 1 black and 5, Corrupt deals damage to any target equal to the number of swamps you control. You gain life equal to the damage dealt this way. This gives me callbacks to the old school Drain Life. It's a sorcery, but yeah. Direct damage in black with life gain. I'm not unhappy with this. More removal. And again, there's that theme of caring about types of lands you control. Next up, we have Sardian Cliffstomper. One red and 1 for a 0/4 Minotaur Barbarian. For as long as it's your turn and you control 4 or more mountains, Sardian Cliffstomper gets +X/+0, where X is the number of mountains you control. So yeah, caring about the number of lands you control. And this is on a creature. So we have 2 sorceries, an instant, and a creature. I see why they did this. Next up is the 5th card in this cycle in Blanchwood Armor for 1 green and 2, which is a nice reprint. An enchantment aura, enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each forest you control. So there's the cycle, and they're all in all cards in this cycle are all uncommons. So this is a nice cycle. I think it's definitely, some of these cards are definitely going to see play. So next up is another super dope uncommon card in Calamity's Wake. 1 white and 1 for an instant that reads, exile all graveyards. Players can't cast non-creature spells this turn. Exile Calamity's Wake. That is dope. Cheap casting cost. A white lockdown type spell. I'm not unhappy. I like that card. Next up, we have another super useful common reprint in Disenchant. For 1 white and 1, destroy target artifact or enchantment. We expected something like this in a set like this. So, that's cool. Now, next up is something interesting. We get a second version of Lauren. Lauren, Disciple of History. For 1 white and 3, we get a 3/3 legendary human artificer whenever Lauren, Disciple of History, or another legendary creature enters the battlefield under your control. Return target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. So yeah, I like this. It's a little beefy at 4 for a 3/3, but you get... And if you're playing with a lot of legendary creatures, this is going to become super useful. Legendary creatures and artifacts. Now next up, and we're getting up there, so I'm going to try to go through this pretty quickly because we got more than one video coming. We have Repair and Recharge. For 2 white and 3 colorless, you have a sorcery that reads, return target artifact, enchantment, or planeswalker card from your graveyard to the battlefield and create a tapped Power Stone token. That is dope. Because you get artifacts, enchantments, or planeswalkers. I can see a lot of them, and you get a little Power Stone ramp. So I'm not unhappy with that card. I like that card a lot. Next up, we have Survivor of Corliss. 1 white mana for a 1/1 human soldier with first strike. And for 1 white and 1, exile Survivor of Corliss from your graveyard and scry 2. So super valuable common card. I like that a lot. It's got good value for a 1/1 for 1 white with first strike. And, if it's in the graveyard, it's got that ability to scry if you need to. So, very cool. Okay, next up we have Falaji Archaeologist. 1 blue and 1 for a 0/3 human scout. When Falaji Archaeologist enters the battlefield, mill 3 cards. You may put a non-creature, non-land card from among the milled cards. Cards milled this way into your hand. If you don't, put a +1/+1 counter on Falaji Archaeologist. So you can give them a +1/+1 counter, or you can get a card back from cards you milled. So not bad. Next up we have Forging the Anchor. And this is Saheeli making the temporal anchor that is a time machine that it's used to for Teferi to travel back in time. So 1 blue and 2 for a sorcery that reads, look at the top 5 cards in your library, reveal any number of artifact cards from among them, and put the revealed cards into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So kind of like a search for your artifact cards. So if you're playing artifacts, that's a good one to play. And the last card I'm going to go with, because it's getting late and time-wise for my video, is Latnam Adept in 1 blue and 3 colors for a 3/3 human wizard whenever you draw your second card each turn. Put a +1/+1 counter on Latnam Adept. And this card would pair very well with Teferi. So I'm going to end it here. There's a lot of hot cards here. We're going to see you on the next video.